It's like taking a bad idea and realizing you have a better idea, and you don't have to work at changing anything about the bad idea anymore. You just do the good idea, and poof, all the bad stuff leaves you. That's spiritual practice. If you're really following my instruction, then all the bad ideas you thought were good, you realize these suck. I'm not going to do them anymore. I'm going to give attention and regard into true freedom, to enlightenment, and then you find it's wonderful. It's producing great results all the time for you. So once you get great results, who wants to go back to the bad ideas, the self-serving ego ideas that only caused suffering? Who wants to go back to that? You know, you can't be a fan of spirituality and think that's the same as being in the game. Right. There's so many people love sports. They watch sports, they don't play sports, and they come in the next day and say, that guy, you saw a player so-and-so, you missed the ball, you should have done this. They're all experts. But none of those fans are going to actually endure what those athletes are going to endure. Can they do it? Can they endure it? So why are they acting like they're the experts and they get to judge the athletes? Why are they acting like that? Possessing. Yeah. The ego-possessing game, they're enjoying being dominant. But if they actually went in the room with the players, they have to prove their qualifications to be there or to be in the game. And they don't have anything to prove. A lot of talking philosophy is no proof. Get out in the game. So if you're not really free, you're not really already happy, everybody knows you're not really doing spiritual practice. You can have all the philosophy in the world. It's going to produce real results. Your ego is your strongest possession you have. You don't want to give it up. You're only going to let go of it when you find out it's a really bad idea. Then you're going to say, ooh. But you still think it's a good idea.
It's viable.
It's viable. So as long as you think it's a good idea, you can hear all the spiritual philosophy. You can go to a lot of other teachers who have great spiritual philosophy. Everybody can be sitting around talking about, super spiritual fan club or whatever this, but they're not actually in the game. And the game is to take the guru's discipline and criticism of your ideas, of all your ideas, of your idea of the separate self-sense, but every idea you ever had as well. To get down to the last one. You have to take my discipline and criticism. So if you go home and say, I don't really have to do what the guru says, and that wasn't right, I should just do what I want. I'm already enlightened anyways. Isn't that the teaching? No, it isn't. You're just trying to assert your dominance on enlightenment. Your mind is dominant on enlightenment. Your mind is the very obstruction to your enlightenment. And how you can't chop off your own head, can you? No. So nowadays, most people like armchair spirituality or fan club spirituality. Like, who's been around me closely knows that they have to take what? They can't ego dominate me and possess me to make them happy and give them pleasure. I'm not here to make them happy. I'm here to show them what happiness actually is. And that idea of happiness that they have is suffering, and they have to learn that. So if you get to possess me, then you won't learn it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And whoever you possessed or got possessed by, you didn't learn about happiness and love by that, did you?
No.
Never. What did you learn? Suffering.
How awful it is.
Yeah, how awful it is. So if you come here and say everything and how everyone acts in the world is actually suffering, there is no fulfillment in any of this, then you're ready to consider what suffering actually is. But if you come to your teacher and say, I still want to fall in love, so I want to make a lot of money and be successful in the world, can I have both enlightenment and that? Well, there's not an end and nor about any of it. It's just that you're still really attached to your original ideas of fulfillment. So you're not ready for enlightenment. So I always say, do what you want to do till you don't want to do it, till you can say, well, this isn't real happiness. This isn't real love. This is suffering. Why did I think it was so great? Why is it so great? It's suffering, actually.
Understand.
So, you can feel anxiety and feel there's suffering, and actually nothing's happening, and you go,
Yeah.
wow, this is really weird. What am I doing?
Yeah.
What if you could locate happiness then,
Yeah.
instead of running away from suffering?
Wonderful.
Yeah,
Then
it's
you'd
like
be
that.
locating happiness all day long.
Yeah.
There's a term called Bliss of Being. Well, without any thoughts, even if your knee hurts, your eyes are tired, your back hurts, your stomach's growling, it doesn't matter what the body's doing, there is such a thing as bliss of being. But it's prior to all your thoughts and all the sensations in the body. And what does bliss of being feel like if it has nothing to do with feeling blissful as a body or as a mind?
Content.
Well, you only find out, it's hard to describe because there's no real, it doesn't anchor on anything to make it true. It doesn't have to possess anything to make it true. It doesn't even need a body, doesn't even need a mind for there to be bliss of being. So it's hard to describe. So you think that all your happiness comes from some kind of happiness combining with some kind of sensation in the body or some relaxation of the mind. So you think that when you feel happiness, it's coming from some kind of combination with the body and the mind. But what if it was never coming from the body and the mind when you feel happiness? That would blow your fucking mind away, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Well, that's really where it is. It's not really combining with your body and your mind. Well, sometimes you look at a flower and you feel happy.
Yeah.
That flower's not trying to give you happiness. It's not saying, look at me, I'm happy. Look at me, you get happy. It doesn't do anything like that. So why do you feel happy? Because the sensation of looking at it is combining with your mind that says, I like this, right?
Yeah.
But what if bliss of being doesn't have to combine with anything, or it really is combining with anything in the body or sensation in the body and mind? What if bliss of being is something that you really can't describe because all description is talking about some sensation in the body or the mind as happiness? What if you took it all away, that you were happy right now, and it had nothing to do with any sensation in your body or any relaxed, happy state in the mind? No thought, no sensation. And that's bliss of being.
Wow.
Well, what does that feel like? It's not a real description for it, because all descriptions would have to say, well, my body feels this, or my mind feels this. So that's why it kind of defies description. That's the realization. That's the only true thing there is, but you think the true thing is when your body feels good, that's happiness. When your mind feels relaxed, that's happiness. That's what you think happiness is. It has to combine with something. So you're walking down the street and you go, I feel really good. I'm happy.
Yeah.
Then you go, it must be because I'm having lunch with Bob. Or it must be because I love this pants. They're so cool. That's why I'm so happy. That's what you do. So happiness never can just own itself. It has to be possessed by the body-mind idea. But the body-mind idea doesn't have anything to do with happiness. The body is just doing its thing. The best the body can do is sexual pleasure, right? The second best thing it can do is not malfunction, right?
Yes.
That's a good.
Just floating. Just eyes floating.
Yeah. So it's not hurting somewhere.
That's right.
That's the best it can do. It's not hurting you. How about the mind? Can it think such wonderful thoughts that you just get so happy? Then if it can, why don't you think that all the time? Why are you thinking any other thought? Because it's not really geared for that, is it?
No.
So what is this happiness that everybody's trying to get happy about? Well, they're trying to realize the self, but they're combining it and believing that happiness has to do with a good sensation in the body and a relaxed thought that makes them feel relaxed or happy.
Always
Do you
avoid-
feel happier when you're thinking about chocolate cake, or rather not thinking about chocolate cake?
Not,
So
No,
think
not
about
thinking.
chocolate cake. Do you feel happier?
no.
No? Not a little bit? I'm not talking about bliss of being happiness. I'm just talking about,
Salivating.
Yeah, okay. So think about rotten eggs. There you go.
Yeah.
So there is sensations and thoughts in the body and the mind that you get some pleasure from. But bliss of being, real already happy, has nothing to do with combining with those sensations and those thoughts. But in your pursuit of enlightenment, you always thought it did, didn't you?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
So who's been doing meditation from their idea point of view? Okay. That's why meditation hasn't come alive. Because you're just doing your idea, looking for some sensation in the mind or the body. That's what you're looking for. And so that's the kind of meditation you get. So if you get some sensation in the body, then you approve of it. Or some sensation in the mind, then you approve of it. But it doesn't really contact bliss of being, does it? No. Because you're putting attention on that instead of not putting attention on that. You're trying to make a certain outcome happen, and you can make that happen that way, but you can't make bliss of being happen because it's being overlooked by you doing that. And unenlightenment is just you doing the ego. So you always never recognize yourself as bliss of being. Because you're doing yourself. You're making yourself up all the time. I'm this person who thinks and feels this. I am an individual. I am separate. I'm trying to pursue my happiness. The spiritual life is the opposite of what the ego is always tending to do. And when you sit and meditate, if you still operate as the ego, then you do meditation from the ego point of view as well. Which is looking for some sensation in the body that pleases you, or some sensation in the mind that pleases you. So if you weren't looking for it, what would it be? It's hard to describe.
Yeah.
We have all these words to describe sensations of body and mind. We don't have words to describe bliss of being. What's prior to body and mind. What the source of body and mind is. We don't have we don't have words for it, language for it, because we're not interested in it here, in this realm. So are you looking for sensations in the body and in the mind when you meditate? Yeah. So then you could have a whole meditation practice for years and years, and you could qualify how good you're doing. And say, wow, I have more of these sensations and I have more of these ideas. Good, I'm doing well. It's nothing to do with what I'm talking about, though. And no one ever asked me anything about meditation, so I all think you're just doing ego meditation rather than meditation. Because if you were living in meditation, you would look differently, act differently, and feel differently, and have something different to say. Yeah. You're not looking for your separate self to be undone. You're looking for it to be fulfilled. That's the whole motive of egos. But while you're going along, the stupid thing called suffering seems to get in the way all the time. Right? You can't make sense of it. It's annoying. So what can you do with it?
Avoid it.
Try to avoid it, distract yourself from it, but you don't make friends with it, and you don't make sense out of it. You don't let it inform you. You don't let it humble you. Yeah. The only way to realize the self is to be undone. Everything you're doing is trying to accomplish something. And it's futile, and you feel the futility of it. It frustrates you.
Yeah.
But so that's when people blame the guru or a spiritual practice or something. They feel oppressed by spirituality. They feel oppressed by the guru's demands, maybe. They leave their guru. And why do they leave their guru? So they can have the fan club version of spirituality. and they can just look for sensations in their body and their mind that feel pleasurable, and they want to call that enlightenment or spirituality. That's what they do. And you can have whatever you want. The Guru's not making you do anything. Sooner or later, you all have a date with your enlightenment, but maybe it's not now. But when someone really is real, when the real comes to your door, or you have had a relationship, you can never quite forget it. It never goes away. And you can say, oh, so Guru so-and-so and her and him, and there's their flaws and their faults. You can judge them like the fan club athletic. People watch the fan clubs of athletics and judge all the players and think you have insight into their flaws and mistakes. But you're not in the game. You're just doing that to feel superior and be able to possess something. But possessing spirituality or enlightenment or feeling superior is not the realization. It's not the happiness. It's not already happy. You're still a miserable person. No matter what philosophy you have come up with to justify anything. Nowadays, the fan club mentality is what kind of rings true for everybody, because everybody can get on the internet and find out any information on anything now. So it's very easy to have a fan club mentality and not get in there and devote yourself to something and work hard at it and see where you go, see what you're willing to do, see what you learn. It's funny because someone who has 5 minutes of genuine experience still knows more than someone who has 20 years being a fan in the fan club. So 5 minutes of experience can teach you a lot more than 20 years of being in the fan club. You got to get in there. So imagine if you really put your life in there. What would happen? So you wouldn't be looking for sensations in the body, sensations in the mind, to prove that you're trying to possess meditation to make it worth it. So when you sit and meditate, what are you doing?
Possessing it?
What's that?
Possessing it?
Yeah. So what if you just notice that it doesn't matter what I think or feel, what sensations in my body are. None of that matters. Is there anything else if none of that matters? Well, that's the secret you have to find out. If none of that matters, if your own life doesn't matter, and if your death is coming for you, if your life matters so much, why do you have a death coming for you? It's to teach you humility. So if you're really humble, you might be willing to sit there and not look for a sensation in the body or the mind, and just sit there. And just sit there. Be quiet. And then you get up and say, that was a bliss of being, but I have no way of describing or owning or possessing any of that. It's just wild and free. I can't do anything about it. Then you begin to sense like, what? Do something about what? Doing something? Nah. There's no such thing as doing something either. It just gets more subtle, the unraveling of all this sense of doing something and possessing something and having something and winning at something. It all starts to unravel. Oh, that big contraction around your heart and your navel and your head, it all begins to relax. And there's no place that anything has to produce anything. And you're just like, oh, that's it. There's no description for this. Can't own it, can't possess it. And people will say, well, what good is it if you can't own it, possess it, and try to sell it to other people for a lot of money? It's not any good in your idea of good. Yeah. So it's not for you. But it is you. Ha-ha. Joke's on you. Joke's on you. Ha-ha. All right.